Cool. Good evening and welcome to Going for Two. This is the only YouTube podcast in human recorded history to feature a male and female host drinking our way through the important topics of the day, as long as they touch the football world and not in that way. We have a slightly under the weather Sharona this evening, and we were going to have a Jen, but she was unable to make it tonight, so somehow we'll have to make it work. Is there anything to talk about, Sharona? I feel like it's a light news week. What do you think?
Nothing to talk about at all. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. Here's something to talk about besides the fact that Sharona has been sick for far too long. New beer tonight, the Storm King Stout.
Victory. I get Victory.
Since I am Sharona Stormborn, I thought that was a great beer for me.
Yeah, no, I actually got a Game of Thrones beer stein last night. I forgot to bring it tonight, but tonight I have the best brown ale from Bell's in Michigan because they do good beer in Michigan. I don't know what else they do in Michigan.
I saw one of those Game of Thrones things in the wine store.
Is that
a
one
few
of the
days
kitties?
ago. It's cool. Yeah, can you hear the kitty? Yes. One of the kitties is wanting out. One of the kitties is wanting mommy, really. Oh my God. I wish you could see them. Hi, sweet.
You're showing off, huh?
They're such good little guys. It's been a rough week for everybody. It's been a rough couple of weeks for everybody.
But in good news, Dexter McCluster, our favorite Titan, has been named captain, and Taylor Lewan has lost the C from his jersey, which is, well, about as trivial as it sounds. But hey, Mike Mularkey is like the guy who's he's just on a hot streak, so he's going to basically hit on everything at the poker table. So see what happens, right?
I have been sick, and I have not been as clued in, tied in as I ordinarily would be. Was there an explanation given for that?
All he said was Taylor Lewan had only played like a year, and McCluster had played longer with the team, which actually McCluster hasn't been hurt yet, but boy, he did hurt the team's chances to win at that fumble on Sunday. But you know, they can't quit him. We'll see what happens.
Zach is such a hater.
Well, I mean, I have to be honest. They won. They looked good on offense. It started with the flukiest touchdown I've ever seen, but I think Mariota needed that because he wasn't doing anything before that. And then all of a sudden he got hot and pulled off the victory. The kicker misses the field goal by a foot, and you think, we're done.
I thought
easy loss.
He was going to make that. I just knew he was going to make that.
Well, I wasn't thrilled. I mean, you know, you take the good with the bad. Like, they got the holding penalty, and like, let's give it to McCluster up the middle twice. That'll be good 4 yards, and what a shock. I think it was my dad who pointed out that the holding penalty, they got penalized 11 instead of 10 yards, and they missed it by a yard. So look at that. But hey, Mariota got the touchdown and a nice 40 burger against the Saints. So yeah, daily fantasy, if your state hasn't made it illegal yet, try the quarterback going against the Saints every week. The last 2 weeks in New Orleans, the quarterback fantasy points have been, I think, 187. It's pretty insane. 177, something like that.
Well, the Titans, up until this past game, had been giving up the most fantasy football points to team defenses in the league. And so,
yeah, the Saints are one of those streamers. But the Saints, I mean, I think they're setting a record for like the worst defense. I remember watching highlights of the Giants-Saints game, and it was just guys like high school flag football pickup game open, just like what's happening. But hey, that's the lightness. Although we do have should we pour one out? Charlie Whitehurst was cut today.
I saw that. I was a little surprised by that. Well, I guess, you know, I mean, he was Wisenhunt's guy, right? And so, yeah. And they activated
David Cobb. He's a rookie, so he probably has him on 12 teams.
I knew who it was. I just couldn't think of his name.
Yeah, people
And
were
then,
expecting big things from Cobb.
I saw Terrence West got picked up by somebody.
Yeah, Ravens practice squad. You wonder with all these injuries, and you're seeing guys like Randall and West, like, are they going to get picked up by a team? Because they're guys who haven't played in the NFL for a while getting a shot. There's definitely desperate times at quarterbacks. Maybe Whitehurst gets picked up by the Colts, huh? That'd be a funny turn.
Yeah, that's something, isn't it?
Yeah, sure is. But today I decided, well, actually, I randomly put this shirt on, but I am wearing my MIZ because Missouri, my alma mater, is in the news.
It is.
For their football team for non-football related activities for like the second time in about 3 years. So it's let's say it's a good thing to be living in interesting times. This whole story of what's happening in Columbia and the hunger strike and actual like college players using their leverage as, let's face it, college football players, like they can own the college if they want to. And they showed it and it worked out, and president got the boot. Curator, is that who it was, got the boot? There were certain people like Jessica Luther who were saying that the AD should get the boot too, but those relating other Missouri incidents as well. But I don't know. What do you think from your perch of being sick and maybe not paying close attention to the news as much lately?
I don't care.
You don't care?
I don't really know enough about it to say. I am only vaguely familiar with the whole situation, and I understand your buddy Clay Travis has had a lot to say about what's going on with Missouri.
Well, yeah, it's interesting to see when people get really skeptical about a story. And Clay Travis, we'll give him this credit. Like when the whole story, the guy started the hunger strike on Monday, and the Missouri football team got involved around Saturday. And from the start, is he a Nashville guy, Clay? I don't know. He's kind of national now. Was really skeptical about what the Missouri football team was doing and whether the racial incidents that were talked about at Missouri were being overstated, which I think is a funny thing for a guy who makes jokey stories and makes that kind of living. Like when you're like showing dumb football fans and scantily clad pictures, and then you decide to jump on the soapbox, you got to go, what's up with this? But he's really picked on him. He brought up the fact that the guy who did the hunger strike, his dad's really rich, which somehow makes what he did mean less for some reason. I noticed that, I don't know, it's intriguing how different, the different levels are here. At least we're not hearing 100% of the people just like we're on the side of the students here. But it's basically a story for our time. The protesters were kicking out reporters, and by the way, Missouri is pretty well known journalism school, so it's kind of interesting to see that happen, including one of the professors being involved in that. So yeah, a lot's happening, and at least it'll distract us from the fact that this is Missouri's worst football team in probably a decade. So who knows? Maybe it'll help them rally, but it's going to have ripples for a while, I think, in the sports world. And then next weekend, Tennessee will probably kick their butts, right?
Maybe. You never know. I had an opportunity to sit down with Matt Waldman last Friday and scout Josh Dobbs. That was kind of cool.
So how was it with Wild Man?
It was good. I really enjoyed the experience. I probably was not at my best because I really have not. I've been very sick, and but it was good to sit and watch Josh and listen to Matt talk about what he thought about him, and have an opportunity to sit there and not be watching the game and just focus on what Josh Dobbs can do. And I came away a little bit more impressed than I expected. So it's kind of nice.
So is he a junior? What year is he in school?
He is a junior.
And he's probably one of them guys who's going to stay 4 years, or he probably just got his degree already because he's really wicked smart, as they say.
He's very smart. He needs to stay in school.
Plus, he hasn't started a bunch of games either.
He hasn't started a bunch of games. He doesn't have a lot of experience. I think it's sort of the Myron role question, though. Maybe again, how much does football is football what he wants? Because he really is super smart, and could be a rocket scientist.
Well, didn't they? I don't know if the same thing was said about Andrew Luck. I know he got I don't know if he's working on his master's or something, but he seemed like a football rat all the way. But I mean, that's with next year's class coming up. I haven't really heard a lot about the top quarterbacks, so I don't even know. Maybe someone could come in and sneak up and take that top spot. But it seems like, for Tennessee and their amazing recruiting classes, give their quarterback 1 more year is probably the way to go. Because you guys can get Drew Lock. Ha ha ha. Looks like a freshman to me so far, Missouri's guy. But, football.
Well, for Andrew Luck, it was a lot easier decision. I mean, Andrew Luck's on a higher level than Josh Dobbs, at least at this particular point. And Josh Dobbs is a much better athlete than Andrew Luck deceptively is a pretty good athlete, but I would not put Josh Dobbs on Andrew Luck's level, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think it was Doug Farrar's podcast on Sports Illustrated. I was listening to the Audibles, and they were talking about those older quarterbacks in the NFL, the pocket passers, and how a lot of the more mobile guys are making their way into the NFL. And they're having to tailor offenses after, Cam Newton's offense at Auburn, and how they're tailoring the Titans offense on what Mariota was doing in college. And then these guys have to kind of adjust to the NFL system, but maybe they have to adjust to a running quarterback, although they can't be a freaking Mack truck like Cam Newton, who still dishes out the punishment. Guys like Andrew Luck's a big guy, and he got the crap knocked out of him in that game, and then all of a sudden lacerated kidney. You got two of them, dude. What's the big deal? Yeah. And it's the AFC South just got worse. So I don't know. Matt Hasselbeck actually was pretty good when he played, so it might not make a ton of difference when they play the AFC South anyway. 6-10, baby. AFC South champs, right?
Well, I think you legitimately have to be concerned about Andrew Luck at this point. I do.
Well, he kind of has played the entire year like he's been kind of injured, and he's been off and not making good decisions. There was a play against the Titans where he had a bunch of time in the pocket, and you're like, oh, he's going to find a wide open guy. And he threw it directly to a Titan defender. So something ain't right. Something's wrong in the water.
He's definitely not been, I know for fantasy purposes, you mentioned Cam Newton. I'm entirely 100% sure that I am far happier with my draft pick, my draft selection of Cam Newton, where I was able to snag him in 3 or 4 different leagues, than where people who took Andrew Luck, where they were forced to take him.
Well, I mean, normally we have this fantasy discussion of whether to grab that sure thing quarterback early in the draft or wait. And this year, the sure thing guys haven't been sure things. Andrew Luck hasn't been that good. I mean, Aaron Rodgers had
he's faded.
A rare garbage time slew of points this week to help him out. But he's ever since he kicked the crap out of the Chiefs in a game that I got blown away on, he's not done anything the past 3 weeks that's been that exciting. And guys like Blake Bortles and Derek Carr and Mariota, when he plays, have been perfectly fine. So it's one of those years where you get those late quarterbacks and you're good. Or you could say spend 80% of your auction budget on Le'Veon Bell and Eddie Lacy like I did in the Going for Two auction, and that went poorly.
Yeah, in one league, I may have mentioned this last week. I can't remember. Did we do a show last week? We did, didn't we? I can't remember. Yes, we did.
How quickly she forgets.
No, I just don't feel good.
The meds are good. The beer is good. I bet like 2 sips and you're like, wow, this is good stuff, man.
It is really good. I have to say, I meant to look and see 9.1% alcohol. Not quite dragon's milk. It's I'm going to give this 2 thumbs up.
That's good.
It's good.
But yeah, fantasy, well, anyway, it is what it is.
Now, I have had Le'Veon Bell, Arian Foster, Steve Smith, Kelvin Benjamin, and Jamal Charles.
I feel like if you don't have a critical injury in a league per week, you're not even trying. Like in the Scott Fish Bowl in the last 2 weeks, I've lost Keenan Allen and Deion Lewis. And I'm like, oh boy, barely holding on to 500. Hey, I have a winning record, though. It's my first all year. Woohoo!
Yay.
Exactly. So do you feel like having a light conversation about Greg Hardy?
Sure. I mean, sure, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I don't think anything changed, but for some reason, seeing is believing for people, and once they see the pictures, then they go, oh, wait, he might actually done something bad. And then today, if you may have seen, Deadspin published the actual transcripts of the NFL talking to Greg Hardy and his lawyer trying to determine how long of a suspension he deserved. And it sounded like it was a very one-sided affair. Like they pretty much took his side of things, that like his girlfriend slipped and fell on a bathroom scale or something to bruise her entire body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I did not see that. I have not seen that.
Well, I saw it like this afternoon. I mean, it's another one of those choose to be skeptical. Like if a woman says that a man has assaulted her, then people want like all this proof. And sometimes it's not available, or giving that proof is going to cause you harm or to be in trouble. So it gets to be a rough situation, and it's not another good situation for the NFL. It's kind of like when the Bears signed Ray McDonald, who had had a history of domestic abuse, and they basically took his word for it that he had changed. And like a week later, he was indicted on another charge. But
I'm looking for it. I'm sorry. I'm looking for it right now.
I think on Greg Hardy,
actually
on his Twitter account, he changed it to say innocent until proven guilty. And then I think someone from the team said, hey, can you change that, please? Thank you. And can you just not speak ever again? Thanks.
I was talking about Greg Hardy last night, and the issue, one of the issues with abuse is that for the majority of people, mostly women and children who are subjected to it, it is systemic. It's not a one-time thing, it's a systemic thing. And one of the coping mechanisms that victims will cultivate is the path of least resistance, because you learn pretty quickly that when you do try to do something, it gets 1,000% worse. And so you don't want that. Believe me, you don't want that. And so, it's yeah,
And it just continues, and you go, well, what's the NFL doing to improve the situation? I mean, that was the whole thrust of that article that Jessica Luther posted. She did on Vice a while back, talking about the history of Missouri, my alma mater, and sexual abuse, domestic violence that had happened in the program. And there was a woman who alleged that a player abused her, and then years later, even after he had been kicked out of the program, she still didn't want to talk about it. And that's what happened with Doro Green Beckham, the Titans receiver who's coming into his own as a player. When he got in that incident, the woman basically decided not to press charges because it was such a public thing. And because the football program is such, they're making just money that you can't believe. And that's, of course, causing one of the problems that got the president canned was he was cutting funds for parts of Missouri so he could pay for additions to the football stadium. So it's all kind of connected. And you're wondering, like, are the coaches and other people at the school actually trying to make these situations better? Are they trying to teach the players? It sounded like one of the position coaches was in charge of telling them, by the way, no means no kind of thing. It's like, maybe a trained professional would be a good person to talk to the team. Just an idea. But it's all kind of coming out. I mean, people can try their spin, but this stuff's going to come out. What happened with Greg Hardy? You remember that video he had, and it just came out, like a month ago, and then Vashti on your show was like, oh, by the way, I published this a year ago. No one cared. Yeah. Now it's news. Like, this stuff is there. You just have to look for it. I don't even know what the point is, other than it's kind of depressing, and sports are supposed to not make us depressed, right? And
yeah, sports has been kind of gross here lately, and so it's interesting. So I understand that Jason Whitlis has some things to say. Can you fill me in on?
Yeah, he was in the Clay Travis school of basically saying that the whole situation.
I don't think that it's any coincidence that all of those guys are gravitated toward Fox Sports these days. Anyway, I digress. Carry on.
It is a very, I don't know, I made, this was actually something on Jessica Luther's, on her Twitter feed, that conservatives were actually using her story about the Missouri program to pretend they cared about these sexual assault victims, to basically bash the Missouri team, to make what they did look less than it actually was. And yeah, that is kind of happening, as they're really going after all the people and saying, did the poop swastika, yes, the poop swastika that happened on Missouri campus, did it actually happen? Because, people take pictures of everything. Why didn't they take a picture of that? And it's like, dang, man, they're really, yeah.
Poop swastika?
Yes, that's one of the alleged things that happened on the Missouri campus, that somebody did that at a dorm, I guess. And then you think, was there not more investigation as to was it the poop of the perpetrator? Did they find the person who did this? Gross. And yeah. And of course, that's the term that, it's Clay Travis, like, oh, poop. Yay, I can talk about that. That's like in my wheelhouse. So yeah, that's happening a lot. And Jason Whitlock jumped on that as well, doing the whole, if Missouri was 9-0, they wouldn't do this. I'm like, hey, Missouri won the East the year that they held the Michael Sen thing back. How come no one ever talked about that? I mean, you're seeing there is a definite effort to try to discredit the Missouri team. Like, as soon as the Missouri team was like, we are all going on strike, somebody posted anonymous people saying, well, some of the players don't agree with that. I'm like, you mean like 90 people didn't agree on something completely? Wow, that's a first. I mean, give me a break. There's nuance, a word that Jason Whitlock likes to use. There's nuance to these situations, but they showed a united front, and I like that side of the Missouri team. The way they're, I don't know. I bash them for not being as good as they've been, but they've actually played way above their heads the last couple of years. So for them to be where they are this year is kind of expected. And to see this is good, because you want to see character, because we do tend to, I don't know, distance ourselves from the actual people playing sports as human beings. So it's good to see that. I mean, I don't know from Gary Pinkel what he's necessarily thinking, but he probably had the choice of, I'm going along with this because it's the right thing to do, or, well, I have to do this. I have no choice. I don't know. Everybody's saying, like, would Nick Saban do this? Would other coaches do this? I don't know because it hasn't happened. Because it's not Missouri. I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling. How you doing?
I'm listening to you ramble. It's enjoyable because I'm not fully filled in on what was going on with Missouri, and I was doing some Googling while we were chatting, and I was listening to you and Googling, and then I just decided I'm going to listen to Zach.
She's getting fully engaged, people, but then she gets quiet. And I'm like, that's not Sharona. That's not how she does it.
I'm so tired.
Yeah, like, clearly she's tired.
Yeah.
Last night I get home and the cats just go bonkers for like an hour, and then after that they are down big time. That's just how they are. So yeah, you got your energy level and then you're down, and then you're like doing another show because you're always on a show. You should be on shows 24/7 because you got the skills, you know.
I haven't done
what you do.
I haven't done my own podcast since I went on vacation, and then I had really high hopes that I was going to come back this week and I was going to do my podcast and all of this. And well, Friday was a really bad day. It started great. I was, did the Matt Waldman thing, which was totally a bucket list thing. And I was like a little schoolgirl and so excited and couldn't sleep and all of that. But I felt the Greg Hardy stuff came out, and looking at those photos was really hard. And so, and I didn't feel good. And then I did not feel good all weekend. Let's see, today's Wednesday, Monday. I haven't felt good this week. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. Like a few years ago, I went through this thing like a few years ago where I was learning to cook something new every year. And so I went through one year, it was like stews and stock and soups and things like that, which turned out to be wonderful because I think chicken soup saved my life this week.
I bet it did. So you're saying homemade? You made your own?
Homemade.
That's pretty solid stuff.
Yeah.
Stock takes work.
Yeah.
By the way, Boulder Shake is my current beverage. Chocolate porter, I believe it.
I think I would like
gold
that.
Medal. Yes. Well, I mean, if you want to get slightly lighter, I did attend a bottle exchange last night, and it was at a local magazine. There's a guy he seems to do 2 of these a week, which I don't know how you do it because you really do have the tendency to overdo it. But yeah, it was bring your own bottle and then drink whatever else everybody else brings. And they were like, bring your own tasting glass. I was like, crap, I brought beer, but I didn't bring a tasting glass. So I went to the local liquor store and I picked up a 2-pack of the Game of Thrones beers because it came with a goblet, so I could use that as my tasting thing.
Want that goblet.
And as soon as I got to...
you'll give your good buddy Sharona that goblet, won't you, Zach?
Well, I have too many glasses as it is. I actually went to a brewery last Friday and I got 2, and I'm overstocked. So, yeah, maybe. You know, you either win the Game of Thrones or you die. So that's how it goes with the beer.
I'm finally made it past book 4 and into book 5, and I've been making some good progress since I've been sick with book 5, and so I'm really excited. I'm going to be finishing it pretty soon because it's going to cut the new books and the series will be back soon.
Yeah, I read the first book on vacation and it was amazing. Like the exact first book was the first season. Like there weren't that many differences or additional characters or anything. I was like, that's pretty incredible. I think the last season they actually tailed a little bit off the books because they ran out of stuff. And I can't remember if the guys finished writing the new book or not. Because they've
It's
got to be filming the new season by now. It's coming out in April.
the last. Well, you would think so. It has not been released. I know that. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Jen can't come tonight because there is major controversy.
Jen, I missed you.
Major controversy in the fantasy football world as the Attorney General of New York basically banned daily fantasy.
Yeah.
And what makes it extra interesting is Jen said that she was going to a daily fantasy conference that was happening in New York City, and now they're not even sure that the conference is going to happen because they were going to have like some kind of tournament involved with it, but now they can't. But if you check it out, Renee Miller on Twitter, I think it's Renee Miller01, she wrote a nice letter to the Attorney General, and that's another politics and sports kind of deal. It's like, I think what DraftKings, they just need to do is they need to get a big dump truck of cash and pull it up to the state legislature, and you can work something out. After all, in the state of Georgia, we have Atlanta Falcons themed scratch-off tickets, so you can make it work, people. I think they just want a piece of the pie. I don't really know. It's weird because daily fantasies turn into a little bit of like a witch hunt because it's just blown up to the level where anytime it used to be, if I asked about fantasy, people ask you about like their team, and now if you say something about fantasy, they're like, "What about daily? What's this daily thing?" So it's because of the commercials and all that. It's really blown up, and I think maybe it's too much too soon in a way. I mean, I can't say. It's like, is it gambling? Is it not gambling? I think for the high-level people, they know what they're doing, but there's so much luck factor to it.
Yeah.
I can see why people who might have gambling issues are going to struggle with this as well and lose money. As much as they say, you can win money, you're like, they don't keep going. If you win, somebody else loses. That's just how it goes.
Well, I mean, why do we give a shit? Anybody attempting to legislate morality is an idiot.
There you go. I mean, after all, I am reading a book about the history of beer in Atlanta, and I was reading about the whole prohibition, and actually they banned booze in the state of Georgia like way before the amendment came out. And of course, they were finding ways to get around the law, and that's probably what's going to happen. People are already saying, oh, they're going to do their, build their servers on like the Bahamas or something, kind of like I think online poker had to do. So we'll see. But yeah, they really should. It's like loosen up on that kind of stuff and let's deal with actual real problems that we're having because we got enough without, daily sports. Because yeah, a lot of people making a living off that now, not just playing, but tons of people are writing about it. So that's a pretty big growing industry, Between that and beer, what else is America doing that's thriving, right? Trust me, the American beer industry is insane. Being at that beer thing last night, just the stuff they kept bringing out, great stuff. But so here's my beer moment. I don't know if I shared it because I posted an article this morning. I found one bottle when I came in. I grabbed this bottle and it said it was like a Belgian dark, strong dark, but also a sour. And I'm like, well, I have to try this. So I pop open the cap and the thing blows up. It just shoots to the ceiling like a champagne, which by the way never has blown up anytime I've opened a bottle of champagne. But this thing just blew up all over the room.
You've never popped a champagne bottle?
I've popped them. They just haven't. Champagne hasn't shot out like that.
Have you not, shaking them up and stuff?
I've never. Who does this? What are you talking about now? I have not tried to do that like a baseball team that just won the pennant.
All right. Well,
yeah, I should next time.
I'm just saying, it's part of the fun.
Next time, when I get my fantasy championship trophy back, maybe I'll do that.
Okay.
Because I made the mistake on draft day. I might have been a little bit inebriated on draft day. It's hard to believe, I know. But the commissioner of our league grabbed the trophy because we have a tradition where the former champion engraves the name of the new champion on the trophy, and nobody's done it in like 3 years. So he was like, "I'm gonna do it," and I was like, "Why don't I just do it?" But he grabbed it, and I haven't gotten my trophy back. And the dude has the last place team, and he has the trophy, and I'm getting it back this weekend. Dang it!
Well, good for you. Go get that trophy.
Not that Allison really wants the trophy in our house, but what are you gonna do? Right?
Do you have an ugly chair that she doesn't want in there too?
Oh no, our furniture is top rate. So no, we just have kitties who don't respect our property so much. They like to claw things. What are you gonna do?
Gotcha. I got mine a little claw thing, and they use it, and me.
And you, yeah. That's the thing. Our last cats would do the thing where they'd bite you, but they really wouldn't sink their teeth in. These cats just go for it. They just claw you, and I'm actually glad that it's gotten colder, so we put heavier blankets on, so when they attack our feet in the morning, they can't quite get to us, but, you know, they try. That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes in Catville. Have your boys calmed down now that they've gotten the snip?
Oh, yes, considerably.
Really?
Yes.
They behaving? Are they not relieving themselves in your underwear drawer anymore?
No, that was once we got the litter box, and I discovered litter box liners, which makes my life infinitely so much better. What else did we discover? Lots of things. Yeah. Although they're not happy with me right now because I'm also the one who, gives them their wormer medicine and stuff, and so we had that this morning.
Ooh, they have to have medicine? That's not good.
Yeah, they're not fans of the bass and the medicine. They're not fans of. Smokey, I think, was Bandit's here for it all because he gets food and snuggles. That's all he wanted to do this afternoon was snuggle, which we did quite a bit of. But Smokey's still a little upset with me, and so I caught him kind of looking, how do I get out of here?
Really? So
But
you
he was
let them
also the
out?
one. He was also the one crying for me a few minutes ago. So
Yeah, if you close the door, they start whining like you will not believe. And I saw somebody post this thing called cat paralysis. And I can't remember what day it was. I was like working from home, and then the cat like got in my lap and basically like fell asleep on my arm. So I'm like trying to work with one hand, and it's like, hey, I'm sleeping. This is what you do. You have to adjust with the cat.
yeah,
You have to do what the cat wants for some reason, and they're pretty used to getting their way pretty much all the time.
They've got the best gig going. I mean, you feed them, you clean up their poop, when they want to snuggle, you snuggle. It's a good job when you can get it.
Yeah, it's what they want when they want it, right?
Yeah. Sorry, so sick.
How about it? So Marcus Mariota, Titans quarterback, 2-time Offensive Player of the Week, his rookie year.
Yeah.
The last Titan to get that was Steve McNair in 2001, and the Colts fans still whine about the fact that he shared the MVP with.
I'm kind of surprised.
2003. Sorry about that. That was the wrong year. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm kind of surprised that Vince Young never. He probably got rookie. Well, no, did Vince Young not ever do that?
I don't know. I don't know if he was Player of the Week. He never seemed to put together like big stats, but he'd have those crazy comebacks that he had with his rookie year. I mean, Mariota already has more touchdowns in 6 starts, by the way, than Jake Locker or Vince Young had an entire year of starting. Of course, Jake Locker never really got a full year of starting. And the one year Vince Young started, I think he had like 9 touchdown passes. That was the year 2007 when the defense was really good and he just handed off and didn't study the playbook. Yeah, that's Vince, maybe. But the guy who was a rookie the same year as Vince Young was one Charlie Whitehurst. And Charlie Whitehurst had his first touchdown against the Titans his rookie year. And it's amazing. He played 6 years with the Chargers, and he never attempted a pass for them. And they traded a draft pick, they got a second-round pick from Seattle for him. And he started like 4 games. And the Titans signed him to that big contract after, by the way, 2 more years of San Diego, not playing ever. He's done really well for a guy who's been basically a third stringer almost his entire career. A decade.
Almost as good as Billy Volek.
Volek had a nice run too. I think that was 2006. Was that the year the Titans left Volek behind like it was a piece of luggage? Like they got beat by the Chargers and they're just like, we don't want to deal with this Volek guy. He's like a quarterback and he's good, so let's dump him. And basically, I don't even know if they got a draft pick for him. I just gave him to the Chargers, and he was their backup for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Good life, San Diego, nice weather.
Oh, yeah.
I hear it never changes, but it's very nice.
Very nice.
I don't know. So who do your Vols play this week? What do you got? What, you don't know?
I don't know.
I know they play Missouri next week.
I do not know. Shall I look that up for you?
So you'll be one closer to your bowl eligibility.
Yes.
Were you too sick to pay attention to the craziness in college football last weekend?
I semi-paid attention to it. What was I doing? Saturday and Sunday. Sunday, I kept up a little bit with the NFL games. They play the Mean Green North Texas team.
Oh, this is the annual November get bowl eligible at a conference game for the SEC. I like that.
Yes. Is this homecoming? No, this is probably past homecoming. Yes, this is what they hope is a cheesecake kind of game.
North Texas was decent for a few years, but I think they've tailed off a bit. Lance Dunbar went there. Come on, Lance. Oh, we missed you so. He was so fantasy relevant for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tough out there for these running backs.
Yeah, this week I was so happy because last Wednesday night, or I think it was right before the game on Thursday, I traded with my dad for Deion Lewis. And I should have known, seeing as every single player I've traded for in my local league I have cut, that something terrible is going to happen to him and he gets injured on Sunday. Non-contact injury. At least the guy signed an extension, but this is the NFL, so they could just say bye to him. And so
Jonas Gray just got released too.
Yeah, I had to decide, was I going to pick up Brandon Bolden, who took over his role, but James White supposedly is the guy to fill in, but Bolden plays special teams. So I picked up James White. I'm probably not going to play him this week, even though I think he's rated higher. It's just a crapshoot. It's unfortunate because the thing with the Patriots running backs is like their running game is always good. You just don't know what Bill Belichick's going to do week to week with his running backs. And Deion Lewis seemed to have, except for that 1 week he was kind of hurt, he had a very consistent role. He was kind of like a wide receiver. And now that he's hurt, it's like, well, they're going to let another guy play that role? Well, I have him and freaking Joey Cabell. That's who I picked up this week. I'm feeling the pain, man. I had a 2-game winning streak, and then I gave up the most points given up in a week in our league and got defeated. And my poor defending champs are 3-6. It's so sad.
Did you rush out to pick up Blaine Gabbert?
No, but we had a guy in our league who actually started him. I think he scored. He probably scored more than Eli Manning.
He had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, way to go, Missouri. If you follow Draw Play Dave, every week he does like comics and he picks winners and he promises to write a comic about the team that gets upset. And yeah, there's one where it's like Blaine Gabbert is like dressed up like a wrestling guy, and then there's poor Colin Kaepernick sitting there in the corner. Because Gabbert got hurt for a play, and I was like, well, who's going to come in? Oh, Kaepernick's the backup. Kaepernick, whatever. And yeah, so were you watching when the Falcons went for the 18-yard field goal when they were down by 4 with like 3 minutes to go?
Mm-mm.
I was like, I'm pretty sure the stats people were telling them they should go for that the 1. Like, if they had 4th and 1 at the 21, maybe kick the field goal, but at the 1-yard line. And then the 49ers, who had been shut down all half, got like 2 first downs, including Gabbert running for it. I thought that was great. So when the Titans played the Falcons close, maybe the Falcons just weren't that good because they've been kind of struggling lately. Their offense is Julio Jones, Devonta Freeman, and then the rest of our guys aren't very good. Jacob Tammy's not bad, but could be trouble, right?
Yeah, I remember this has been 3 or 4 weeks ago. Maybe 4 weeks ago, people were talking about who was the worst undefeated team, and several people were picking the Panthers, and I was like, no, it's the Falcons.
Yeah, the Panthers have a really good defense, and their wide receivers, they're probably not as bad as the Titans when they went to the Super Bowl when they had, was it Isaac Bruce and Derek Mason, who wasn't even playing, and Kevin Dyson, and they had some bad guys. And this year, yeah, it's Corey Brown and Ted Ginn and Funchess, who's actually had a pretty good weekend. But there's not much there offensively. They're still running. They always say with quarterbacks who run that by the time they get in the NFL a few years, they got to be a pocket passer. And Cam's actually passing pretty well, but he's still running the ball, running read option all the time. You saw that touchdown he had where he just put the ball over the goal line, and usually when a guy does that, it gets knocked out. He just held on to it, pulled it back, and it was on 2 fingertips, and he's got strong hands. I will not shake his hand or Adrian Peterson's for that matter. But yeah, I think the Panthers are good. This is the latest I think we've been in a season with 3 undefeated teams, and we almost had 4. And it's almost assumed that the Patriots are going undefeated. And it's a matter of will the Panthers and the Bengals keep going.
You don't think the Titans can knock the Panthers off this weekend?
Well, they have offense now. Their defense, they were down to every cornerback that was on their roster at the end of last game. And after that first half, except for that crazy 3 penalty play they had on Drew Brees, where they got called for roughing the quarterback, and then Arakpo got 2 penalties after that. But other than that, their defense actually has been pretty good. So maybe they can shut them down. I think they have a chance. Last week I would have said they're going to get blown out. But, it could be an interesting game at least. I don't know. I'm not sure if my dad's going. My dad was going to boycott the rest of the games. My mom's like, your dad's actually watching the game last Sunday, so maybe he'll show up. They did pay for the tickets already.
I was going to ask you if they approved of the coaching change and if they were more excited.
Well, I think my mom's still the optimist type, and my dad was kind of giving up. But it just, it needed to happen as much as, I don't know. They're defenders of everything, but it was people were we like Wiz because he's an NFL coach and he's a gamer. If Jeff Fisher gets fired by the Rams, there are going to be a bunch of people no, give him another chance. Just once these guys get established, especially in the NFL, it's hard to get them off. It's like a smell in your car. But I think there was definite emotion with Mularkey. I was like, Mularkey, he's definitely just an interim guy, but who knows? maybe the Titans owners will actually move to Nashville, and maybe this guy will be emotionally involved, and maybe unicorns will fart rainbows, and it'll be a glorious time for everybody, right?
Maybe.
Maybe. I see you Googling. What are you Googling?
I'm looking something up.
You are half paying attention. Oh, I tell
Nosy.
you, this happens.
Nosy.
We go out and she's looking at her phone and she's checking out other people. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Whatever. Don't even.
I feel like I don't draw the attention like I used to.
Don't even start with me.
I was trying a little.
Nope, I don't have the energy for it tonight.
I actually didn't write any over it or nah. I would just put Dexter McCluster as captain on there and see what you say.
Oh, I'm fine with it.
Go. You want to get a jersey?
Yeah. Are you crying in your beer because Taylor Lewan got the C snatched off of him?
I thought it seemed premature, but I don't know. The C on the jersey, don't the Patriots not do it? And it's just, I feel like half the team gets them, and okay. If they think, obviously McCluster's burrowed himself in there, has got a nice role. I mean, he's getting carries, and Bishop Sankey is pretty much lost. I'm kind of wondering if Bishop Sankey is going to be inactive this week. They're going to give David Cobb like the kickoff job, Yeah. Although the kickoff job is kind of a fun one now because they kick every ball out of bounds. You're like, oh, out of bounds. Sorry, can't return that one. Man, I'm still impressed every time I see the Bears and Marco Mariani is still like on their team. Like, man, look at that guy.
Right?
After 2 season-ending injuries, I assumed he was done, and he's still playing kick returner when no one returns kicks anymore, and occasionally gets in on offense. I'm like, all right. I think I even saw him in the backfield on one play. I was like, what? What are they doing? Maybe he's the next McCluster, huh?
Rashad Ross is doing pretty well in Washington.
Who's that?
Rashad Ross.
No,
I don't even know who that was.
I know a Jeremy Ross.
He was with the Titans in training camp a few seasons ago. I thought he had a lot of promise. Seems like they had him on anyway. He's doing pretty well.
It seems like other than LeGarrette Blount, almost every ex-Titan guy from practice squad. Actually, Jack Doyle is still with the Colts, but usually those guys don't do anything. All I remember is that year they drafted the 3 receivers and they all sucked, but the one guy was turned into the kick returner for the Saints and he won a ring. So, and I can't even remember his name now. But yeah, those guys didn't do that well. Jones at Oklahoma was one of them. I can't remember, but yeah. Bad times for Titans. Not good times. I hear you have other commitments.
I have other obligations.
To call it any evening.
Hey, we got a good show under our belt.
We're putting it together at the last minute, and
we missed you. We missed you, Jen.
Yeah, Jen, what's the deal? Stop caring about your family. This is football first, family second. Have the appropriate hierarchy. Maybe
quit playing games with our heart.
Exactly, and now what the heart likes on Twitter. Well, yeah, we're all getting in our emotional side going.
Yes, and all up in our feelings.
So you are NFL female last night, NFL female tonight. Is there a Thursday show, Friday, Saturday?
Probably nothing else the rest of the week. I was also on with Cat Chronicles last night, their weekly show talking about the upcoming Titans-Panthers matchup. So check that out.
Yeah, are they afraid of us or not? Or not?
They're afraid that we could possibly be a trap game, which is a legitimate concern, I think.
I like that. The Titans have advanced to the point where they might be a trap game. So Sports by Sharona, and yeah, exactly. She has been busy on the airwaves. For someone who's sick, She's only done like 8 podcasts this week. It would have been a light week for her.
Whatever.
So yeah, if you want to read
the
about
only show I did last week, the only one. Well, Matt Waldman, but that's I mean,
the only show except for the other ones. Hey, the world needs the exposure to you. They need to get on your level, and without you doing more than one show, they will not even dare to come within miles of your level.
Wrap it up, Zach.
So yeah, ZachOnSports.com. If you want to read about my beer drinking last night, I will attempt to add links and pictures so you can find all the amazing beers I had last night because they were quite tasty. Some are only available in certain markets, so do a road trip. So anyway, for Sharona and the absent Jen, say good night and kiss my grits.
Kiss my grits.